Hello, farmers, and welcome to another wonderful episode of The Harvest Season. My name is Rochelle.
And my name is Al.
And we're here today to talk about farming games.
Woo!
Woo!
I like how you've already said it's going to be a fantastic episode.
You say a lie enough, it becomes the truth, right?
Well, apparently so.
85% sure that's how this works. Are you ready for this fantastic episode?
Well, I'm ready. I hope the listeners are ready.
Because it's gonna be a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do the usual. We're going to go over feedback, what we're playing, talk about the news, and then today we're going to talk about Story of Seasons Trio of Towns mechanics in our infinitely long Story of Seasons series. Mini-series?
Season. It has to be a season, right?
Season.
Story of season.
A whole season of Story of Season.
That would be a lot because that would be 28 episodes.
That'd be so much. That'd be too much.
I think that's definitely too much.
I mean, we're already at too much. So let's start with feedback.
Yeah. We have an email from Gabe, friend of the podcast.
Woo. Hi, Gabe.
And Gabe wants to know if we have seen a game, The Stillness of the Wind. I hadn't seen this. Rochelle, had you seen this before?
I had not.
So basically, it's a game about an elderly lady who's on a farm, and all of the village around her have basically moved away to the big city, and they describe it as a story of loss, and it's it looks really calming and but sad, and it's really interesting. It's still a farming game, but it's much less interacting with the village around you, and you're basically on your own as far as I can see.
It's really pretty. I kind of really want to play this. The farm in this 100% gives me Courage the Cowardly Dog vibes.
I don't know what that is.
Oh my gosh, you don't. So when I was a kid, I didn't watch a lot of cartoons or television or anything. We actually didn't have television for a lot of my childhood. And then when we did, I was a very strange kid. So I mostly watched anime on Toonami. I can name most of the shows I've ever seen from ages 1 to 18, and the vast majority of them are anime.
I mean, that doesn't actually surprise me very much.
Yeah, I feel like it could be expected coming from me. But the one cartoon, like American cartoon, I actually watched was Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's this sort of like very surreal and dark cartoon about so Courage is a cowardly dog, and he lives on this farm that's like in the middle of nowhere. Like aesthetically, it is very much like the still frame of this game where it's just nothing land and then this little farm, and he lives with an old couple. Muriel is the woman, and I don't even remember the husband's name. I think it starts with an E. It's like Eugene or Eunice? I don't know. Eunice. Anyway, I'm going to feel really dumb here in about 3 hours when I remember.
I imagine the name's probably not important to what you're about to say, though.
No, but it's like you follow Courage and like all this like weird kind of supernaturally stuff happens. It's very dark. It's very surreal. Anyway, I like it a lot. I get major Courage the Cowardly Dog vibes from this. I want to play it though. It looks fun. I actually went through the effort of looking up Courage the Cowardly Dog.
All right.
So yeah, Courage is like this pink dog, and they live in this old half abandoned farmhouse, and this will be fun. Quote from the Wikipedia: He lives in a farmhouse with a connected garage near the fictional town of Nowhere, Kansas, with Muriel, whose last name I'm not going to even try to say, with Muriel, a friendly, sweet-natured Scottish woman, and her husband, Eustace, a grumpy, greedy farmer who regularly mistreats Courage out of jealousy and refers to him as stupid dog. There you go.
Okay.
That's my secret Scottish influence on my childhood, I guess.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Courage, Muriel, and Eustace frequently encounter monsters, aliens, demons, mad scientists, zombies, and other such perils from myths and legends.
I feel like we've gone way off topic here.
I'm just learning about myself. I'm just like, yeah, I'm really into like horror and stuff, and now I'm starting to see why.
Fair enough. Anyway, this game looks good. Thank you for emailing us, Gabe.
Thank you. I wouldn't have known about this without you.
Neither of us had heard of it before your email, so that was very good. So if you sitting at home listening or someone else listening think of a game that we might be interested in, don't assume that we've heard of it. The worst that we can do is go, yeah, we've heard of it, but thank you for telling us. Mm-hmm. And you may well tell us about a game that we haven't heard of, which just gives us more stuff to spend our money on.
Mm-hmm. Write in. Tell us about things. See what other shows from my childhood you can get me on a tangent about.
Have you got any spoilers for this show? Oh, okay.
No.
No spoilers yet.
I can remember a lot of episodes, but this is not Rochelle's Courage the Cowardly Dog podcast, so...
I'm not even going to lie and pretend that I would listen to that.
Fine. Eventually I'll get my audience built up for my Courage podcast. Anyway, more importantly, what have you been playing recently?
Well, since our last episode, I finally finished Katamari.
Woo!
Still no idea how I'm meant to pronounce that. And I feel pretty much the same as I did last time. I'm glad it exists, and I'm glad I'm done. And
I'm glad you can finally move on.
It was, I mean, to be fair, the last few levels were quite fun, but only in a kind of, this is great fun to kind of roll over huge skyscrapers. You know, I didn't even find the beginning of those levels fun. I didn't really like how slow they started off. And I still got the issue of, feeling travel sick. Although I guess the bigger it got, the less of an issue that was. Which is probably something to do with just the, things being bigger than you, confusing your brain. And it was quite fun, all the little references they had in the bigger ones, and the fact that you could crash into clouds and stuff like that was quite ridiculous. But
you're picking up islands and clouds and rainbows.
That was good fun. But yeah, I'm glad it's done. And I've been playing some Trio of Towns, obviously, for our challenge, which is good fun, and that was also useful because it reminded me about the mechanics for this episode. I think that's it. What have you been playing, Rochelle?
I haven't actually played terribly much of anything recently. I've played a little more My Time at Portia, and by a little I mean a lot. I have played some Trio of Towns. I ended up getting Stardew on my phone, but I've only played like a week or two in it. I did fail.
Or you succeeded. Failure is not an option.
That's about it. I haven't been playing terribly much of anything time-wise the last couple weeks. I've been very busy recently.
Knowing how we work, you've probably still played more than I have.
Probably. I am in year 2 of My Time at Portia. I'm like halfway through spring year 2. I've been playing a lot of My Time at Portia. I really like this game.
Well, speaking of My Time at Portia, I just rearranged the news section to get that segue in.
Watched it real time. It was great. You did a heavy sigh, and then I look over at my computer, and the notes are rearranging themselves. A+.
When you hear this, dear listeners, you may well know that My Time at Portia on Switch will be released. Woo! Comes out on the 16th, which is a week from now, or yesterday if you're listening to this, on the day it comes out. the sad news is that they have delayed the physical release in North America. There's some issue with the physical release there. They've not said what, but these things happen. That will be coming out on May the 14th instead. The digital release is still slated for the 16th of April, and everywhere else the physical release is still then as well. So it's just, if you're in and on North America getting the physical version of the game, you will have to wait till May, which is very sad. But these things happen. I
am so torn over this because, like, I would really, really like to have this on my Switch. I'm a physical cartridge kind of a person. I like to physically have the games on my person. I have gone an hour out of my way to get a physical copy of something.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I want to wait till the middle of May.
Yeah, I'm quite generally torn on these things as well. I think for my time at Porsche, I will be buying digital for two reasons. One, one of the big reasons I like having physical media is that I can resell it. I don't see myself ever wanting to resell this game. And so, there's no need for that. And secondly, it's actually cheaper in the UK to buy it on digitally than physically, which is quite unusual, even though it shouldn't be unusual. It is unusual. It's like £5 cheaper. And it's like, do I actually care enough to get it physically for £5? Not really. So I'll just, and apart from anything, if I were getting it on Amazon or whatever, Amazon have been dreadful the last few years with getting pre-orders on the day. Whereas this, getting the digital one means that you actually get it at midnight. And obviously, there are many advantages of having the digital version as well. You don't have to switch out carts and stuff like that. But yeah. For most games, I think it's generally the way that I work is that for indie games, I'll buy it digitally because one, I want to kind of support indie developers more, and I'm not going to buy a physical game and then sell on because, it feels a little bit icky for someone small to kind of be sharing that game across multiple people. I don't feel as bad when it's, big companies because, you know what? They've got lots of money to spare.
See, I agree with you, but I also prefer physical cartridges because I do not trust companies to let me download that game for the rest of forever.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely a legitimate point, and that is still an issue. However, there are always ways to deal with that in the future. Not that I would obviously be condoning anything that may or may not be illegal.
What if a horrible apocalypse happens and we have power but no internet? I could never play my games again. I want to be able, in the case of zombie apocalypse emergency, to be able to throw my Switch in my bag, do my running as per zombies run, and be able to hook it up to a generator or something and have a bunch of physical games to play sometime.
Yeah. No, that's a legitimate point. I'm not trying to say that, digital has all the advantages. There are definitely advantages of physical as well. But for this particular game, I've decided that I think the advantages of digital outweigh the advantages of physical.
Yeah, I might get it digital.
Well, I mean, I think your calculation is different, right? Because you already have the game on PC. So it's not like if you have to wait a month, it's not like you cannot play the game. Now, I know it's not on Switch, and obviously you'd prefer things on Switch and blah, 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 blah.
I mean, you also have to consider I prefer things on Switch, and when I say I have no physically comfortable way to sit and play a PC game right now, like, I mean it. Like, it is very uncomfortable. Like, my muscles hurt after playing.
Yeah.
I really just want the comfort of playing a Switch in comfort and ease.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. Either way, I'm going to be buying this game twice in the end.
You just need to import it
I am
physically.
fine with that. You say that as if I haven't almost done that before. Anyway, moving on. Did you know that Forager on PC has a release date now?
Yes, I did. I mean, no, does it?
It does. The 18th of April.
That's just 2 days after My Time at Porsche comes out.
It's going to be so much all at once.
I know.
Yesterday, y'all bought Porsche. Today, you're listening to this, tomorrow you're going to buy Forager. It's just the season of farming sims.
Although it is important to note this is just on PC. The Switch version will come out later. I just did air quotes. Nobody saw that. We don't know when later is. They have not announced that. And, you know, I will not be buying it twice. I cannot talk for Rochelle, though.
No, I'll probably wait till it comes out.
Well, that's the sensible
Most
thing.
Most games I have a sense of self-control with.
Yeah.
I know I'm not really proving myself right now.
You were just really unfortunate with the timing.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
that's okay.
These things happen.
You know what is coming to Switch?
Took the words out of my mouth.
I've got you beat.
What else is coming to Switch,
today.
Rochelle?
Littlewood.
That is exciting.
Very exciting.
It is.
They have a super A+ Shife to announce it. It's just like a little Switch in their overworld. They're just gonna I'm gonna walk up. What? A Switch! It's very cute.
It is. I'm very excited about this because I like the look of the game, but I was like, I don't really want another game on my computer. So any game that comes to the Switch, as well as PC, is good in my books. So. Speaking of games...
You know what else is good?
No. Speaking of games that are coming out, Islanders, which was a game we talked about in the last episode, I think. It is out now. Sadly, it's not coming to Switch as far as I know, but it is out now. And it is very nice still. And it turns out it's also very cheap. So go buy it. It looks nice.
Go buy it. You won't lose a lot. I think it's on sale right now. We'll see if it's still on sale when this comes out. Not that it much matters. Even if it's 10% off, it's still 5 Earth monies. So.
I'm not going to make a segue for this one because I still don't know how to say the name.
Doraemon Bokujo Monogatari release date is now June 13th. This is in Japan, right?
Yeah, they've still not. I'm going to presume we're not getting it. It's only in Japan. Although obviously because the Switch is region free, you can obviously create an account on the Japanese eShop and buy it if you would like. But I presume it won't have English in it, so got to learn that Japanese. And they also released a lovely new trailer for it.
Go watch the trailer
and some more backstory as well and stuff like that. But we won't go over that just now. There'll be a link in the show notes.
Yeah, play this if you speak Japanese. Unlike me. I do not speak. I'm sorry. Anyway, now that we've got my obligatory apology for not speaking Japanese out of the way for this episode, Rune Factory 4S, which is the remastered. Is remastered the right word?
I think so.
The remastered version of Rune Factory 4 coming to the Switch got a promo presentation recently. There's a neat little trailer you can watch. We'll put it in the show notes. We do know now that save data from it will link to Rune Factory 5 when that comes out. This is not the first time they've done linky bonus type things, I think.
You know more than me.
Don't take my word for that. It's been a hot minute since I've played Rune Factory. So, but this is very exciting. Buy it, play it. I believe there's new stuff in the game. Like there's new things you can do with your spouse and etc. I highly suggest Rune Factory 4S. I don't care if you've already played Rune Factory 4. Buy this. It'll be fun again. Rune Factory is my favorite game of this whole genre. So...
Which, as we know, changes a lot.
That's actually pretty consistent. Like, I will have passionate love affairs with games, but Rune Factory is my game I always go back to.
Well, I've not played any Rune Factory, but I will almost certainly be buying this because I like games. And
I'm so sad
you keep telling
that you
me
won't
to play it.
Play the first 3. Like,
I might eventually.
I hope so.
You just need to.
Now's the time to do it.
You just need to get it on our list of episodes.
I'll work on it, okay? I'm just so sad you'll never play the one where you turn into a monster. Anyway, so moving on, let's talk about Farm Folks.
Everyone's favourite name for a game.
Whoop whoop.
Yeah, they've released their alpha build for Kickstarter backers who get the alpha build.
Yay. Alpha.
Yeah, I mean, most of you listening probably won't get this because you had to back the Kickstarter at a certain level, but it's good to know it's moving along at a pace.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all the news.
I think so. You want to talk about some Trio of Town mechanics?
That's what I came to do. I came to talk about news and then Trio of Towns, and I'm all out of news.
All right. This game is very mechanic heavy.
There is so much here.
Yes.
Like, I would type things up in the show notes and be like, oh, here's some stuff. And then I'd remember something and type it, and that just sent me down a whole other rabbit hole. Kept forgetting things.
Like, this game, as the newest of the Harvest Moon / Story of Seasons games, kind of has like an accumulation of years and years and years of mechanics. So we're going to break it down by categories. So we're going to talk about people mechanics. We're going to talk about farming mechanics. We're going to talk about little things within each of those. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
You want to start with people?
Yeah, let's start with people.
People first, always. Should have put animals first, but it is what it is. So let's start from the beginning. Beginning of the game, first thing you do is you customize yourself, your player character. When you start the game, you can customize, your gender, so long as you enjoy living in the gender binary. You can customize your appearance, which you can also do later in the game. You can change things. You have a birthday. You get to pick your birthday any day of the year.
Which, by the way, don't just choose the default because you'll regret that.
Default is spring 1. You will not experience your birthday the first year.
And there's nothing telling you that beforehand. And you get in and then you find out later that you get stuff on your birthday. And you're like, well, I could have chosen any other day. Oh.
Yes. So the priority in picking your birthday is that on your birthday, if you talk to a villager, they'll give you a gift.
And like all of them.
Literally every villager.
Not just the first one. Like
to.
They will all. I mean, they're not all amazing presents,
but you'll get something from everyone. So if you have it like Spring 5 is your birthday, you can get gifts from West Town and no one else because no one else has been unlocked. But if you do it on like the end of summer, you can get gifts from all the people in all 3 towns. So it doesn't matter if it's somebody else's birthday or if there's a festival or anything. So don't stress out about that. I have a history of stressing out about not putting my birthday on any other event. Don't do that with this game. You're fine. You can, of course, choose your own name. You have a 6-character limit.
Yeah, you can tell it's a Japanese game, can't you?
Yeah, this kills me as someone whose name is significantly more than 6 characters.
Why do you think I've shortened my name to Al?
Because it's fun and easy to say. My name is not Rochelle. How many characters is Rochelle?
Depends whether you spell it correctly or not.
9? It depends on if you spell it the way my name is spelled on my birth certificate. My name is 9. It's 9 characters. 3 characters too long. Luckily, there's a nickname for my name that is 6 characters. Conveniently, perfectly fits THS Pod. Don't ask how I know that. And then the last thing you can customize about yourself, and this is where mechanics really starts to come in, is your personality. You can choose from a selection of personalities that each give you different benefits in your playthrough. You want to go over these?
I love the personalities, but again, and this is one of these things that keeps coming up with games, is initially makes you think that maybe it doesn't really mean anything, but actually it can make a massive difference to the game. But there's no clue as to what it means unless you search.
They literally do not ever tell you this. They're just like, pick a personality. It's a personality. Pick a personality. We're not going to tell you anything about them, but... So we're here for you. We're here to tell you what these personalities do. So from top to bottom, let's just list them out. You have Animal Lover, which will give you a whole heart of relationship love points with each new animal you get. So you start with a heart instead of 0 hearts.
Which can make a massive difference at the beginning of the game, because your byproducts from them are quite good with 1 heart.
The
compared to without.
Byproduct level of your animals is dependent on a lot of factors, but one of them is your relationship with them, which is indicated on a 1 to 10 heart scale. So starting out essentially at 10% instead of 0% is a huge bonus. The next personality is Fisher, as in fisherman going fishing. If you choose... That did not help at all, but we're going to roll with it. If you choose this personality, you start out with a higher fishing level and therefore can fish for higher quality fish right from the start. The next personality is Sports Enthusiast, in which you start with 6 hearts of stamina instead of 5, which we'll talk about stamina in a minute. You can be a tycoon. I didn't realize tycoon was a personality, but we're going to roll with it with this.
Well, I mean, for some people, it's all they have. So they have to pretend it's a personality.
You're not wrong. Before we go into Rochelle's musing on this structural inequality of the society podcast, if you're a tycoon personality, you start with 50 grand instead of 4 grand money, which is a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, that's not just like double or anything. That's a whole factor of 10 difference. That's huge.
And then the last personality is Charmer. And with Charmer, you start out with a given number of friend points with the villagers. So for marriage candidates, you'll start out with 1 heart. And for everyone else, you'll start out with half a heart. Again,
which is really weird, right? Because it's not like you get the heart when you talk to them. It's like you have the heart before you've even met them. It just seems a little weird because... I
mean, I kind of assume that what it is that you're such a charmer. You're so pleasant to be around that when they meet you, they just love you from the start. Because each town has like a cutscene where you meet all the villagers. You get taken around and you meet all the villagers.
Yeah, all right, okay. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I've made a convincing argument.
Yeah. You win this round, Rochelle.
1 point, Rochelle. 10 points, Hufflepuff.
But I'm Hufflepuff.
I'm also a Hufflepuff.
We're Hufflepuffs, yay.
I mean, I'm technically a Slitherpuff.
I think I'm Hufflepuff.
But...
A Slitherpuff.
Yeah.
Is that... Can you be in both?
No. Okay, so there's...
What have I done?
Other Slitherpuff listeners at me. I'm a backwards Slitherpuff where my primary house is Hufflepuff and my backup house is Slytherin, but it is what it is. Slitherpuff listeners at me make me feel less alone. Anyway, those are the primary personality types. That's what you're going to get if you buy the game and play for the first time. But if you have your first save file and you see the credits not once, but twice in 2 different situations, being you complete the farming tips and you also get all of your towns to rank A and see the mini scene that accompanies that, you can unlock 2 new personality types.
2 of them?
2 of them!
Wow.
2 more. These are essentially hard mode and easy mode. The first one is layabout or weakling, depending on your translation, where you start with 2 hearts of stamina as opposed to 5, and you max at 7 stamina as opposed to 10. Just in case you want to struggle bus through the whole game. And then the other one is Miracle Worker, where you can port from a previous save file your stamina, money, recipes, clothes, trophies for cooking and collecting outfits, and also your farm degree. This game is really super easy that way, because at the point by which you can, by the time you unlock these personalities, you can be very, very far into the game. I say can as if it's more like you are. You have to be very far into the game to unlock them. And like when I first unlocked this, my save account had like millions of money and half the recipes and half the clothes, like maximum stamina. So like it makes a big difference to start the game with 10 stamina as opposed to 5. This must be what being a rich people is like. A rich people.
Lots of recipes.
Lots of recipes.
That's what being rich is.
Yes, being rich is about how many clothes you own and how many recipes you know how to cook. 100%. This has been True Facts with Rashah. So, those are all the personalities you can eventually choose from. And we haven't even started playing the game yet. Let's talk about your stamina. Your stamina is the energy you have to do literally everything in this game. It maxes out at 10 hearts. And you can start, again, depending on your personality, with 2 or 5 or 6 hearts. Even if there are very certain events that give you more stamina. It's 1 extra heart for each of the farming tips you complete, 1 for getting married, and 1 for getting all the towns to rank
Which is
A.
the second top rank if you've not played.
Yes. The ranks are E through S. S being the highest rank. Sorry, I have my old save file up. The one that's very complete. So I'm just like, I don't know, everything's at rank S. Like, farming tips, rank A, and getting married. If you happen to start the game, say, with a Miracle Worker personality that starts with 10 hearts from your last save, you still have to watch the cutscenes where Desi will deliver your stamina for you. You just don't get more stamina.
It's kind of a shame they capped it, right? Because if they didn't cap it, you would just get another one, which means you could end up in a situation where if you keep doing that from different save files, you end up with like a ridiculous number of hearts. You could just go all day.
Mm-hmm. But at a certain point, you don't need it though. Like even at 10, like I will do a lot in my late game games, and you don't need 10 hearts of stamina.
Sure, if you've upgraded your tools, sure. But if you've not upgraded your tools, it's a lot.
Why aren't you
heavier.
upgrading your tools? Anyway, we're talking about stamina, not tools right now. So there are ways that you can give yourself bonuses, including to stamina, and that's by eating food. There's a trillion recipes for food in this game. You can cook your own food. You can go buy food from the cafes. You can actually, I don't know if you've discovered this, once you become friends with somebody, they will eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner in their houses or wherever, and you can sit down and eat with them.
You don't think of course I discovered that. You think I was going to get out of those meals? Come on, free food. Absolutely. Free
friendship. We'll even talk about friendship in a second.
Well, not just that, but some of the food is got great effects that they have, and I think it's is it Megan has one some breakfast or some lunches, I think, give you the gold buff.
Yes.
So I was just basically using her for money.
Rude. Anyway, so food has bonus effects. You want to go over those?
All right, yeah. So we've got conservation, which if you're looking at it in game, it's a little muscle arm icon. I think it's purple, isn't it?
I believe so.
And that reduces the stamina use by 20%, which is useful. And you tend to... So the way that they're kind of organized is the different types of recipes generally give the same sort of effects. It's not all the same. Some of them don't, and some of them give extra ones, but there's kind of like a general idea. So the conservation ones are generally rice recipes. There's fast mode, which is an up arrow icon in the game, and that speeds up time, which I'm sure you'll have a reason for why you would want to use that. I guess you could do it if you're trying to get through the game quickly. You can use, but you still want to water twice. You could use that. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yes. Sorry, I was eating cottage cheese.
How much cottage cheese do you have? You've been eating it for like 2 hours.
I've had like 4 bites of it. I'm eating it very slowly. Yeah, you can do it if you want to like really get through days. For example, if you're really trying to get to a certain festival really quickly, or I use it a lot. I use it a lot when I am stuck on something and I need to collect resources for it. For example, like if I'm trying to make the wine machine and I have to collect a certain amount of whatever forageable item, and I just want to get through days so that more forageables respawn and I can collect things, I use it a lot for that.
But I guess the reason to use that rather than just going to bed early is that you can do the double watering, which we'll talk about later, quicker.
Yes.
Next we have the fishing effect, which is represented by a little fish, and that makes the fish bite faster. I didn't realize it was biting faster. I thought it was... I don't know what I thought it was. There you go. So they bite quicker because they are slow fish.
The slowest fish in any game ever.
And those will generally be pot recipes. But obviously there are lots of other recipes that it'll work with as well. The next one is the friendship bonus. Bonus. I'm Sean Connery, apparently. Right.
Friendship bonus.
Let's try that again. Next up, we have the friendship. This is why you do most of the talking. Next, we have the friendship bonus, which is a little person with a star for the icon, and that earns you 20% more friendship points. In most of my cases trying to use this, I ended up accidentally doing it after I'd already gotten my friendship points for that day.
No.
Yeah, I'm really bad at organizing these things because part of the problem is that due to the type of game being, relaxing, not thinking, I don't end up doing things in the most logical way in most cases.
That's okay.
The next one... sorry.
No, you're okay. One note for the friendship bonus. It gives you 20% more positive friend points. It does not do the same like for negative friend points. So if you're trying to make someone hate you and you give them a gift they hate to do like a minus 1,000 friendship points, this will not give you an extra 20% minus. It's only for positive interactions.
I want people to hate me more. Next, we have the shop discount or the gold buff, which is a little money bag, and that gives you a 10% discount in stores, which is very useful. And that's generally soup and drink recipes. Then we have the recovery bonus, which is a heart with a little up arrow icon, and that's recovering half of a heart every 30 in-game minutes, which can be very useful. And that's generally bread or noodle recipes. Next is the run speed, which is a shoe icon that increases the player's run speed by 50%. especially useful if you don't have a quicker way of getting around. A horse, that's what I just in my head went, wait, does this game have a horse? It does, doesn't it?
Of course it does. I love this and going zooming around, like zoom.
It's really fast.
It's very fun. It's so fast. You are a very fast runner with this.
And those are generally salad or fried recipes. And finally, last but not least, we've got the slow mode, which is a down arrow icon, and that slows down time. So that's also useful if you want to do more in your day.
Mm-hmm.
Although, interestingly, I don't know whether you find this as well. I find that I'm less often running out of time in days in this game than in Stardew Valley. Because in Stardew, I can just get lost in the mines all day. Whereas, because we'll talk about mining later on, it doesn't have mines in the same sort of way. So there's less that I'm finding that I can't do in a day if I don't slow down time.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I am very good at filling up every day completely. It is a skill. But I'll run around and do, like, if I run out of time, like if I run out of... Correction. If I run out of... Let's try that again. I'm very good at, like, if I run out of tasks to do, I usually just, like, I'll go and talk to villagers. Until I have to pass out, like, that's how I do.
I have to say, talking to villagers until you have to pass out is a big mood. It's tiring. It's tiring talking to people.
Humans are exhausting.
Except, obviously, talking to you for this podcast, Rochelle.
Of course. I always love talking to you. I always love talking to the listeners. At me on Twitter. So...
Like and subscribe.
Smash that like button. Don't
hit the bell.
Hit the bell icon.
These jokes will not be funny in a couple of years. Not that they're funny now.
They're not funny now, no. I never understood them. And very recently, I've started using YouTube more because I remembered that ASMR is a thing that I love.
I go through phases with that as well. Like, oh yeah, that's the thing. I forgot about that. It's weird. It's weird when I'm listening to it at work though, and like I just switch to the tab to change video, and someone's like, "What on earth are you watching?"
You're just like, "Don't."
It's just like someone's face up on the screen. Can we pretend this never happened?
It never happened. I can't. I was gonna say I can't believe that there's not like a bunch of ASMR podcasts, but then I realized I don't know if there is because I've never looked for that, and also. A lot of people have like visual triggers.
Yeah.
I answered that question myself. Thanks, Rochelle. You're welcome, Rochelle. The last sort of like you personal mechanic we're gonna... I really should have done vocal warm-ups. The last sort of player character specific thing we're going to talk about is your farm degree. This is kind of like an aesthetic thing. So everything you do will earn you points towards your farm degree. These range from things like talking to an animal, which will give you 3 points, or using a tool. So, for example, tilling one field gives you 1 point. Or all the way up to things like upgrading your house, which gives you 3,000 points, or getting married, which gives you 15,000 points. And a huge range in between. And these build up to give you your farm degree, which is essentially how hardcore you are, how much you've played this game, bragging rights. You start as a beginner farmer with 0 points, and there are 42 degrees you can get, with the last one being Farmer Overlord, which is 20 million points.
That is a lot of points.
It's a lot. That's the thing that you're going to say. You're going to go to your farming friends and be like, look at this. I'm an alpha farmer L3. I am so much better than you. And they're going to be like, are you sure about that? Because I'm a farmer overlord. And then you're going to feel embarrassed. So
I honestly had never, see, I'm always learning things. I had never seen this before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a common thing in like Harvest Moon games. So I guess it was just a given for me playing a lot of Harvest Moon games. But
Yeah.
this is a thing. You can check it if you go to your bookshelf. On the top screen, you'll see like your name, your farm, your birthday.
I just looked and my goodness, I have a long way to go.
What is your farm degree?
I am a legendary farmer just now, which sounds like it's very high, but is level 11 of 42.
Oh, I believe in you. My
goodness, that's a long way to go.
File. You have so long to go.
I've got a factor of 100 to go.
My oldest save file is Demigod Farmer ?
Wow.
Which is the 37th out of 42.
Yeah.
So I have some work to do.
Yeah, but that's only like, a third again of what you've got. Whereas for me, it's 100 times what I've got.
It's tough. It's definitely a small bragging rights kind of thing, but I like it a lot. It's kind of like every time you up your farm degree, you get a letter saying like, congratulations, this is your new title. You're doing great. So it's a nice kind of like feedback, especially in like the monotony of doing the same thing every day. To say like, you're progressing. Yeah.
I kept reading them and I was like, these are weird. I don't get what this is.
Oh.
All right.
Poor Al.
Great, thanks.
This is why we cover
egg
this
farmer,
stuff.
whatever that means.
Oh, egg farmer. I love the early ranks. They're so cute.
I thought, like, I had always assumed it was something to do with what I'd just done. So like, oh, I'm an egg farmer. I must have done something important with an egg. But no, no, it wasn't.
Now you know. This is why we cover these things.
Yeah. See, this isn't for you listeners. This is just so I can learn from Rochelle.
It's what I'm here for.
Cool.
Enough about you, though.
Oh.
You want to talk about other people?
I guess so. I mean, we did just spend a whole 2-hour episode talking about other people, but yeah, let's talk about people.
We're going to hit this real fast. We talked about the people. Here's how you interact with the people. Your relationships are rated on a scale of hearts, 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. So...
Or 0 to 10.
Fine, 0 to 10. Showing me up.
It's important.
It is important because you don't start with 1 heart. You start with 0. You're right.
Unless you're a charmer, obviously.
Unless you're a
Look
charmer.
Look at me using that information that's right above where this is written.
So 0 to 10 hearts for regular villagers and the 1 marriage candidate that you are actively dating, or up to 5 hearts with marriage candidates you are not dating. You actually have to go through an event and officially become a couple to get a marriage candidate's last 5 hearts. So you raise your friendship through a variety of activities. The most well-known is giving people things. Gotta give those gifts. I wish it was that easy in real life where I could just give people a flower every day and they would love me.
Have you tried just giving someone a flower every day?
No, that's expensive.
Well, see, this is the thing, right? You can't complain about it not being the case and then complain about the fact that it is the case, but you just don't do it. Make your mind up.
Look, not everybody has gifting as their love language.
That's very true.
Some people prefer acts of devotion.
I don't just give me lots of things. That's
anyway,
what I say.
This is not Rochelle's 5 love languages podcast. Moving on. Gifts. Each villager has a set of preferences. So gifts range from things they hate, which will give you a negative 1,000 friend points with them to things they love, which will give you a positive 1,000 friend points with them. This at least doubles on their birthday. So if you give them 1,000 gift, it'll actually think it more than doubles. I think you get like 3,000 friend points for a loved item on their birthday. You can get an extra 50 to 100 friend points by wrapping what you give them in wrapping paper from the store.
Which also counts for negative gifts. So again, if you're trying to make someone hate you, don't wrap the gift.
No, you don't want to give them their most hated item and you're like, minus 1,000, but also plus 100 for that A+ wrapping paper.
Such a ridiculous situation where they don't hate you quite as much just because it looked lovely in the wrapping paper.
Exactly. The variation in wrapping paper being that there are different patterns of wrapping paper and everyone has a preference for what wrapping paper they prefer. So any old stuff is plus 50, their preferred is plus 100. You get friend points when you participate in festivals, depending on how you rank in the festival, which can range from 50 to 2,000 friend points. You can send letters from Postio on a variety of different papers. Again, they have preferences for papers. It ranges from plus 50 to plus 400.
Oh, I never tried sending a letter. I just presumed that you could only send them to your family. Oh well.
No. Your family... No. I'm not going to talk about your family. I'm not going to... Anyway, so... I'm just like smack talk them like they don't appreciate anything I do. You can encounter friend events. So once you have, it varies. It's like at 2 hearts, there's a 2 heart friend event. Some people have friend events at like 5 hearts or whatever. And they're mini scenes that once you reach the friendship requirement and you stumble somehow into the time and day and weather requirements for the event, you get to see a cutscene.
Which you obviously do accidentally and not without meticulously looking at the website and planning it all out.
Of course. It's all very natural. These will also raise your friendship. Sometimes it's dependent on choices you make. So like you can answer people's questions in certain ways and some will give you more friend points than others. Or sometimes it doesn't matter what you say, or sometimes you don't get a choice and you just get a flat reward of X many friend points. So, and then the last thing is farm circles, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But there are little farm circles you can decorate your farm with, and that's their bonus, is you decorate your farm and it looks nice. But if you have certain sets, you can earn extra friend points with entire towns. So like there's a set, if you have them all, you get friend points with everyone from West Town, etc. If you really want to make people hate you, you can lose friend points by giving gifts they hate. By littering is very important. If you throw anything on the ground, or especially in waterways, just everyone hates you. If you throw something into the river of a particular town, that entire town will lose friendship points with you. If you throw it into the little pond in the crossroads, you will lose friendship with literally every character. So don't litter unless you want everyone to hate you.
It's a good life lesson.
Please take this into the real world. Don't litter. Everyone will hate you. And then if you are dating somebody and you happen to give the dating item to someone you aren't dating.
Happen to, like it's accidental. Oops, I just spent a stupid amount of money on this thing and just gave it to you.
Oops, my bee. Yeah, the person you're dating does not like that a lot, and you lose a lot of friend points to it.
I get that. I can understand why they'd be a little bit frustrated with that, to be honest.
They are not into polyamory in this game. Don't try it. And in case you're wondering about these very specific numbers of friend points, 1 heart is about 10,000 friend points. So if you give someone, I don't know, if you earn 2,000 friend points for winning a festival. Oh, that took me too long. If you earn 2,000 friend points for winning a festival, for example, you're a fifth of the way to a complete heart. So it's a long con. You can only give people 1 gift per day, and that's other people. I don't know if you want to talk about like marriage mechanics or dating mechanics.
Yeah, I guess we could probably mention that a little bit. So the way that you're going to have to make sure that I'm right about this, but there is an item for dating, and I think that's the same for all of them, the dating one. But then to actually propose marriage, it's a different item that is for each town. So each town has, so for example, I think Lulu Coco, it's a pendant. West Town, I think it's a ring, and I have no idea what Suyukuza is.
Okay, you're wrong.
I'm wrong.
So,
okay, right. You just take it away.
You're partially right. So,
see, this is why I just don't. I don't try.
Everybody, when you hit 5 hearts with your marriage candidate and you want to officially become a couple, you use the pendant, the Going Steady pendant, which is expensive. It's 150 grand. If you don't make it, it's just 150 grand. That's a lot to invest into a relationship. And you give them...
Yeah, definitely use the gold buff for that.
And you give them that item to ask them to be your sweetheart.
Or to get them to ask you.
Yes, which we can talk about in a sec. That's a whole other thing. The exception is the special candidates, which are Inari, Stephanie, and Woofio. You can't. You don't date them. You just go straight from, I like you, let's get married. Like,
they're all in.
Yes,
right?
They are all in. And then marriage, you have to have an upgraded house, so there has to be room for your new spouse, and you have a particular item for each town. So West Town, you're right, is a wedding ring. Lulu Coco...
Yeah, 1 out of 3.
Yeah. Lulu Coco is actually the blue feather, which...
Oh, that's what it was, yes. Of course, I should know that, because I married a Luca.
You should know that.
I forgot about
Mildly disappointed. I'm not disappointed.
I got messed up between the pendant and the feather, that's all. I wasn't completely wrong.
No, you were almost right. Which longtime players of Harvest Moon will know, like, the blue feather is like the Harvest Moon thing. And it is a hair comb for a Suyukusa candidate. So you propose, you get married I believe it's a week in game. Like, you don't have a choice, like, you propose and then 7 days later is your marriage day.
Yeah, so don't propose a week before your birthday.
No, because that's basically all you can do on that day. You just get married.
Yep.
Marriage candidates have an extra thing called affection points. You earn these in festivals and love events and by giving gifts. And another way you can earn friendship in this game is that there's a ton of clothes and everyone has a preferred outfit. So if they like your outfit, you get extra friendship or affection points. So the deal about affection points is that if you have enough affection points, you can actually get reverse confessions, which is how you start dating or a reverse proposal. So in that case, if you have enough AP being affection points, if you have the going steady pendant in your bag and you talk to the person you're courting, rather than you giving it to them and that triggering the please date me event, they will actually say, hey, can I talk to you? And they'll ask you to date them. Same goes with marriage. Which that's essentially the only thing it's relevant for.
Which is really interesting because I, when I was building up friendship with Luca, I stumbled into that. So I think I'd bought the pendant, but I can't remember why, but there was a reason why I hadn't given it to her yet. But I was just talking to her and then she was like, hey, can we talk somewhere? And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I thought I went through that event and I just assumed that was the normal way to do it. And then I was reading up later about that and I was like, oh, that's what I did. Oh, okay, that's not normal. That's cool. And then specifically went to do that, made that happen for the marriage proposal as well. But it's a nice wee touch, I think. Because during the cutscene, it's kind of like they ask you and then you're like, oh, I've been thinking this too. Here's the thing. And they're like, oh, it's great.
We're a couple now. Yay. I like it a lot because it gives some sense of agency to the other characters.
Yeah.
Like
you're not just basically picking the right, I choose you.
Exactly. Like, I like it. It's a really nice little touch. And it's one of those things that you don't have to stress about if you don't care. But if you do, it's really nice and fun. So if you're ever wondering how your relationship is with somebody, you can always check their hearts in your bookshelf by going to resident info. Or specifically with marriage candidates, when you talk to them, next to their dialogue box is a flower that will change colors with the color corresponding to what heart level they're at. With each increasing heart going up one, respectively, it's white, then purple, then light blue, then dark blue, then green, light green. And then once you start dating somebody and you can get the last 5, it's dark green, yellow, orange, pink, red, with red being the max. And each town has a different flower. It's cute.
Yeah. The flower's a nice little addition because it's nice to see it change between 2 screens. It's like, oh, you just hit that point. That's nice. And, obviously you don't really care too much about the exact level you have with other villagers. It's just really the marriage candidates that really matters with. It'd be nice if you didn't have to go all the way back home to find out exactly what your friendship level was. But at least you...
just do it once a day.
No, I know. It's just, I don't want to spend much time in that house.
I understand. You need a cute house that you want to spend time in. Anyway, that's People. 100 years on People. That's how we do.
Speaking of people, you also have a farm.
A+. Nice. I'll get A for effort.
I thank you. It's fine. You're just at the start of the day. I'm just at the end of my day. It's a great combination.
We're going to get there eventually. So your farm and the non-people mechanics is starting with your farm. Let's see if we can go over this faster than we did people.
Yeah.
So your farm itself is broken into 3 sections. You start out with just one. And with each farming tips you unlock a new section. So you unlock the west section after doing farming tips 1, the south section after doing farming tips 2, and then after farming tips 3, you unlock a cellar where time is meaningless. Your farms are huge. You do end up having to clear them of boulders and trees as per the usual. And then you can decorate and decide what you want to do with your farm through farm circles, which you have to go to Ludus's store and you can build farm circles with just materials you collect from the world, like wood and stone and etc. And these range from everything, including decorative items, as we mentioned earlier, that will give certain bonuses to certain things, or all the way up to your fields that you till and plant crops in are farm circles that usually come in a set of 2 squares. And barns and cheese machines, etc.
Everyone loves the cheese machine.
Who doesn't love a good cheese
Or
maker?
in one of my farms, the hot milk machine. Oh, well, no, I guess you cook that. I tried to make a joke, and then during the joke realised I was talking nonsense.
It's okay, I forgive you.
Life is difficult.
Yogurt machine. It makes yogurt.
It does.
It's really just the dairy machine. Let's be real. Yeah. I'm sorry.
The different ways of turning milk into off milk.
Yep.
Sorry, I'll try not to make jokes again because it just doesn't work.
No, please keep trying to make jokes. I love it.
I'll keep cutting them out till I get a good one.
What can you do with your farm circles? Let's break this down. First and foremost, you got your crops. You have 2 different types of soils you can plant in, regular and soft soil.
Which is very useful to know early on, and you don't do what I do and spend a lot of money building up a whole bunch of normal soil before you can put them down, and then you unlock soft soil before you end up putting them all down, and that was a complete and utter waste of time and money.
No, because crops grow faster in soft soil. So you want to do that, ideally as soon as you can. So you have your usual seasonal crops that only grow in one season, and you also have trees, of course, which take an entire season to grow, but then will fruit for the entire season that they fruit in. That was a weird way to say that. So like there are trees that fruit in spring or summer, etc., etc.
Yeah, we know what you mean. I think the other thing is that the fields, one I'm going to spend most of the rest of this episode pointing out the differences between this and Stardew, because obviously my first game was Stardew, and this is different. The way that the fields work is different to Stardew. So in Stardew, you were walking along and you would till one small square, you'd plant something, and you'd get one plant out of that. The way this works is it's a larger square, essentially like a 3x3 square, and you plant one set of seeds into that, but that actually grows 9 plants, and that you then water that individual one. So it feels initially like this is so huge, it's such a waste of space compared to what Stardew would be, but you actually get a lot more out of it, and it's easier to, water and stuff like that. So it's a very different way of thinking about things, but it's quite interesting, yeah.
It's fun. I like it. Keep that in mind. That's very important. We're going to reiterate. 1 seed in 1 square will grow 9 crops. Don't go buying 10 seeds if you want to grow 10 things and waste your money.
Yeah.
I
think I learned that the hard way as well initially.
There's also, you can grow tea. You can plant a tea bush and it will produce spring, summer, fall tea leaves as 3 separate crops in their respective seasons, and then doesn't grow in winter. I learned a lot about tea and how it works from this game, and then true story, there is a single tea farm in the US that grows tea, and I went there and I went on a tour, and I was like, I know all of this. Where do I know all this from? So, literally from Story of Seasons. I don't know what
surprises me more, the fact that there's a tea farm in America, or the fact that there's only one tea farm in America.
Tea has to have very particular environments to grow in, and there's just not a lot of places in the US that are conducive to tea plants.
It's why it's quite funny. One of the here we go, off topic again. One of the most more common types of tea in the UK that people drink is Yorkshire tea. But of course, the tea's not grown in Yorkshire.
No.
It's not even packaged in Yorkshire. Like, it's got nothing to do with Yorkshire. Anyway.
I bet I know exactly what it has to do with Yorkshire. Some rich white dude in Yorkshire.
Why, Rochelle? Why is everything racist?
Colonialism.
I hate people.
Official sorry from white people. RB.
I don't think sorry's enough, though, is it?
No, it's not. So instead, we're going to move on before I start crying. Let's see. Crops.
Tea.
Trees.
Yeah.
Tea. There's also a set of crops. I think this is interesting. You can grow paddy crops, like rice paddy crops, in water. I think this is interesting. So you have to have a different farm circle that allows you to essentially dig holes instead of build up a mound. And then you have to fill it with a ton of water, which takes a hot minute.
It's a lot of water.
And you can grow things like rice and wasabi. And I think that's very fun and interesting.
Yeah, what I find interesting about that is that because it's a paddy, you don't actually have to water it every day. You just have to make sure you refill it before it empties out. I don't know whether it slows down the growing if you don't refill it every day. But like, obviously, if you don't water your plants for a day, they don't grow at all that day, whereas your paddy crops will.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an interesting, possibly time-saving thing if you're wanting to grow some stuff but not spend too much time watering.
You can also, of course, grow grass, which you can cut for fodder to feed your animals.
Which you end up with a lot of grass. Like, so one thing that I had an issue with Stardew is just getting enough grass, whereas in Trio of Towns, I don't know what to do with my grass. It's like, because you're like, okay, I'm gonna plant some radishes and whatever, and I'm gonna plant some grass because obviously I'll need some grass. And then you're like, okay, so I've planted like 10 grass. I suddenly have like 400 grass. How on earth did this happen? It's ridiculous.
Trillion grass. Put it in your thing, your storage box.
I didn't. Well, you can't put it in your storage box.
I'm pretty sure one of the storage boxes you can put things in.
You cannot put fodder in the storage bin. You can only put it in the feed.
Oh,
thing.
Yeah. You have to build a farm circle, which is a silo.
Exactly,
I forgot,
which you don't have unlocked to start with. So it's like I'm, a few days into the game and I have 400 grass and it's wasting space in my bag that I can't do anything with other than, I guess, sell for 1G each.
Sell for a very low profit until you get animals. That's what you do with it.
Don't grow too much grass. That's my point.
Mm-hmm. There are some crops that you harvest with a sickle, so you have to have a sickle to cut them down, like grass. And then other than that, your two primary farming tools, there's a lot of tools in this game, are going to be your hoe and your watering can.
Ho, ho, ho.
So tools in this game can all be upgraded and leveled up to let you either use less stamina or to till multiple spots at once, for example. Etc., etc. Ideally, you want to be able to water your plants 2 times a day, which is different than a lot of other farming games. This will cause them to grow faster. You have to wait, 12 hours in between waterings, though?
It's something like that. I've never figured out exactly what it is, but it's something like that. I think it's slightly less than 12 hours.
It's like 10 or 12 or something like that. I think it might be
10.
So if you water your crops first thing in the morning, you can water them and then water them again at the end of the night at like 6 or 8 or 10. The more you water them, the faster they grow. So.
Yeah, I think if you water them twice per day, it grows 1.5 times rather than twice, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like 1.5. It's 1.5 days worth of growth if you water them twice in the day.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
There are also, yes. There's also a whole bunch of different types of fertilizers that you can apply to your crops. These do things from, for example, different fertilizers will increase different things about your crops. So it'll increase, for example, its stats. Each crop has 4 stats that add up to an overall 0 to 5-star quality, being color, sweet, juicy, and size, which all go from 0 to 100%. Once you start maxing things out, you can actually get golden crops, which is fun.
Very exciting the first time you come across that. I'm like, why on earth do I have a golden tomato?
Because it's a good tomato.
Clearly. Oh yeah, good. That was a good choice of word, wasn't it?
Tomato.
Hey.
Let's call the whole thing off. All right.
No one says potato, by the way.
That's what you think. Moving on. So fertilizers are how you increase the stats of your crops. And then once you get the seed maker, you can take your 25% quality crops and make seeds, and then start from 25% as opposed to 0%, which is what you do when you buy seeds from the stores. So it's worth it to invest in creating your own seeds. Just so you know, a gold crop will give you a 10% bonus to stats when you make it into seeds.
Yeah.
So if you put a 50% everything gold crop in to your seed maker, it'll spit out seeds with a 60% starting quality for everything.
Which, this information may or may not be very useful for the challenge.
Mm-hmm. Next up, you have animals. Basically, my favorite thing about this game is there are just so many animals.
Animals you wouldn't expect as well.
I love the animals in this game. It's like my favorite thing. So, first of all, regular animals, you can build separately coops and barns, which have different types of animals that can live in them. Coops, of course, are going to hold birds and also rabbits. So there's 2 different kinds of rabbits. There's an Angora rabbit and then a gray Angora rabbit. And then there's chickens, silky chickens, and quails that you can have for birds. Have you ever seen a silky chicken?
I haven't actually, no. I mean, do you mean in real life or do you mean in the game?
Yeah. Please take this moment to look up a silky chicken.
Oh my goodness, they're so fluffy.
Yeah.
Is there a chicken under there or is it just a ball of fluff?
Oh, there's a chicken in there somewhere. For the listeners, silky chickens have just like poofs and tons of feathers.
Wow.
They're very fluffy chickens.
It's like a llama.
Yeah, they're like llama chicken.
Llama chicken.
Speaking of which,
yeah,
in your barns, you can actually get llamas and alpacas, along with both regular and Suffolk sheeps. And then you can also have your regular cows. You can have a Jersey cow or a buffalo.
Which I feel like they cheated a little bit with the buffalo because it's just basically a black cow.
Hey, the buffalo has really big horns.
Well, yeah. I feel like it's not personally. Right, okay, we're not, we're not brushing over the issues that we have with this game, so I feel like they could have put a little bit more effort into the buffalo model.
That's fair. I respect your opinion.
Anyway.
In case y'all are wondering, cows, there are 4 different designs of cows, so don't freak out if one cow looks different than another cow. That's intentional.
It's not ill, don't worry.
Correct. I mean, it can be.
Yeah.
And of course, each different species of animal gives you different things. So the cows give you different types of milk. The sheep and alpaca and llamas and rabbits give you different type of wool.
And the alpacas and llama, when they're shaved, are the most hilarious things in the world.
They look so silly.
It's like, just a fluffy head.
Mm-hmm. And all the birds give you different types of eggs, of course. And all of your livestock animals can also have different stats, essentially. You have the size of your animal, the byproduct level of your animal, and the coat of your animal, which are all ranked E to S. You have affection with your animal, which is the 0 to 10 hearts thing. You have their overall health. Of course, they can get sick, in which case you have to give them medicine to make them better. And there are ways to not let them get sick in the first place, which we'll talk about in a minute. You can also increase their byproduct amount. So by default, they will give you 1 of their byproduct. I believe the maximum is 20. And
that is correct.
Yes.
Which took me ages to learn that. And it was like someone made an offhand comment online about getting multiple byproducts from their animals. And I was like, wait, what now? You mean I didn't have to buy 10 cows?
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about...
So that was a fun thing to learn.
Mm-hmm. We'll talk about how to increase that in a sec. And then the last thing you have is stress, which is just a meter bar, essentially. And the more stressed out they are, the more likely they are to get sick. If you don't treat your sick animals, they will die. Just so you know. Animals die in this game. They die of sickness and old age. Don't let your animals die of sickness.
Yeah, and I haven't come across that, but I believe there is a sad cutscene when that happens as well.
It's sad. Anyway, your animals die.
That sounds like the voice of experience.
Yes. No, I've never had that life experience. I don't know what you're talking about. And on top of that, each animal will actually have a personality type, which you can see before you buy it, and each personality type gives you different bonuses. So, active will give you a +5 bonus to your byproduct level. Calm will give a +1 to size. Cheerful will give a +1 to affection. And gentle will give a +2 to coat. And timid also gives you a +5 to byproduct. So, the way you raise your animal's stats is either through feeding or through treats. So, there are different types of fodder. You cut down just regular fodder. Or if you push them outside for at least 2 hours, that counts as feeding them for the day. There is regular fodder. There's also spicy and sweet fodder. This doesn't say what those do.
Spicy increases the coat, and sweet increases the byproduct amount.
Mm-hmm. And that counts for both fodder, which is for barn animals, and feed, which is for coop animals. And then the other way is treats. There are 5 types of treats that each increase different respective trait of your animal. So like, again, byproduct level, byproduct amount, their coat, etc., etc. I believe it says what they do in particular in the shop, in the description, as you're buying them. Pay attention to that. The way to increase your quality of your animals is to give them treats, primarily. Treats and food. So it's worth investing in. As you increase those things, it increases the quality level of your byproducts, which again, 0 to 5 stars. And the higher quality it is, the more it sells for. So do that.
And that also feeds into the star rating of recipes if you're cooking with the stuff as well.
Yes. In recipes, the star rating is based on the star rating of the ingredients you put into it. So higher quality ingredients give you higher quality food, which gives you more stamina or sells for more money. In addition, you can also get one horse, which lives in a stable by your house. You can have bees, which is really fun. And you can actually grow fish and pearls in this game, which is really fun. You catch fish and you put them in a little fish tank farm circle and they grow more fish.
They grow more fish.
Yes, that's how
like,
fish works.
Like as a little tumor on the side of another fish and then it splits off.
Fish bud. This has been Biology with Rochelle.
Oh dear.
Do you want to talk a little bit about taking care of your animals?
Yeah, sure. So, obviously, we talked about feeding. You can, feed once with the fodder or feed and once with a treat. You also should be petting and brushing your animals every day. That do, because obviously that will increase your, it's not friendship. What's it called?
Affection.
It's like you don't really have friendship with the animals.
It increases affection and also reduces stress.
Yes, and stress is what can lead to them getting sick. So you obviously want to keep that down, which is very easy to do if you just take care of them every day. I don't think I've ever had stress go above like one thing, and that was because I forgot about them for 2 days.
If you are properly maintaining your animal, if you're properly caring for your animals, they should not get sick or die of stress.
And the other thing, of course, is your animals are going to poo, so you need to clean that up. So there is, and obviously there are many tools for these things. So there's a pitchfork for cleaning up the poo, and you can see that, but it's just literally just a brown mark on the ground. There are tools also for the milking, the shearing, and
shears.
Yep, and there's the brush as well. For brushing your animals.
Take proper care of them. You can also breed animals and make babies.
Yeah. Although that takes a long time.
It takes a long time.
I don't think I'll ever do that again because that animal's out of commission for the whole time as well. And I'm just like, it only costs $5,000 to buy a cow. Just buy a cow.
Yeah, as opposed to a couple grand in a month of making a baby cow that then has to grow for a month.
Yeah.
It's a long-term investment. Or with coop animals, you just stick an egg in an incubator, which is so much easier. That one is worth doing. That one's like, have a free chicken.
Yeah.
Do not necessarily suggest for barn animals. Those darn mammals.
Their gestation periods.
And then you also have pets. You can have a total of 12 pets maximum. There's a trillion different species of pets. There's a bunch of different types of cats, a bunch of different types of dogs. You can also get capybaras, which I think is fun. And only in the Japanese games, because they couldn't get the character rights for other regions. You can also get hamtaro and cheburashka as pets, but only in the Japanese. So sorry if you don't get hamtaro as a pet. You and I can be disappointed together. Different pets will do different things with things for you. So, pets have abilities like herding, where they will actually herd your animals in and out of your barns and etc. So you don't have to do it yourself. They can also go out and find things for you, like plants or materials or fish, etc., and they'll bring those back for you every day. You can walk around with your pets. You can go treasure hunting with your pets, where when you're walking around, like your pet will be like, oh wait, look over here, and it'll find an item for you. There is a whole thing called your Furmiliar, like familiar, but with fur for animal fur, where you can, once you're at least 3 hearts of friendship with your pets, you can run around as your pet and experience pet-specific cutscenes and stuff like that. So, those are pets. There's a lot of really cute pets. I know you don't care about pets, but I care about pets.
It's probably a bit unfair to say that I don't care about them. I like them as a concept, and, you know, it's nice having my dog, but I got the one... Oh, what one was it? I got the one that does sometimes find you gems and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought that was quite a nice thing. But it ended up being so rare that I got it like twice in the time I had it for like, you know, 3 whole seasons.
So
and it was just... It ended up being quite disappointing, but that was probably because I chose the wrong one.
Yes and no. So pets actually essentially become more well-trained, and they do it just by doing their thing. And the more well-trained they are, the more they'll do. So if your dog was more well-trained, it would bring you more things. And the only way it's going to be more well-trained is either it has to just continuously give you more things, or you can buy a dog bone for dogs and a cat bell for cats. You essentially play fetch with your pets and increases their training. And the way that pans out, for example, for herding animals, the more it herds, the more well-trained it gets. And it can herd more animals, up to 10. Starts with just 1, goes up to 10. It just takes time investment. It's just another thing that takes time investment.
Yeah, and I guess I just didn't spend enough time and put enough effort into it. And it's like, yeah, great, there's a dog.
Yeah. I personally really like the herding animals. It can save a lot of time, especially if you have a lot of animals. So,
yeah, I guess I don't really move them out of their barn at all.
It's not your jam, and that's okay.
Yeah, we play games differently, and that's why there's lots of things in them.
Mm-hmm. Those are your cute animals.
One thing to note about the horse, we were talking earlier about the event, the friendship events you have with villagers. If you're on the horse, those won't happen. So if you're trying to bring those up, get off your horse and walk instead.
Correct. Events don't trigger if you're on your horse, which is another reason to use food that speeds up your running speed. It's not always ideal to run around on your horse, as fun as it is.
Although it can also be useful if you're trying to avoid certain events at any one time.
Very true. Do what's best for you. Do you want to talk a bit about mining?
Okay. Right. Let's talk about mining, shall we? So, the way that mining works in this game is in Westtown, there are 4 mining points. 2 black ones and 2 kind of bluey, silvery, glittery ones, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a hammer. So the hammer is the tool to mine with, which first off, really, who hammers to get something out of rock? That doesn't make any sense. But that aside, it's not massively important. They could have called it a pickaxe and it wouldn't have made any difference. But anyway, that's just a small point. You go up to one of the mining points, and I think to start with, you can only use the one on the bottom left of the town, and you basically can hit it, I think it's up to 5 times, and you get some items out of it. And that's your mining to start with. When you upgrade your hammer, you can then use the other ones as well. Not each level, but like you unlock one after a couple of levels, then the third, and then the fourth. And they will give you rarer stones and stuff like that, which the stones, I don't think we mentioned this, the stones are used for the upgrades of tools and for some farm circles as well. they
farm
sometimes
circles
use.
and upgrading your house and stuff like
Upgrading
that.
your house, yeah. And selling some of them. Some of them is selling, which is very good, especially if you end up with a diamond early on.
There is one additional mining node, and that is in your cellar that you unlock by completing the 3rd farming tips.
Yes. Yeah.
And that has the rarest of everything.
Yeah, so I guess if we're gonna talk about how we think about these things, personally, I'm not a huge fan of how this mining works because it's especially to start with, you go up and you've got your 5 hits on the one node, and that's that. You're done. You can't. There's something I really like. If you actually want to get a whole bunch of stuff, you can just spend your whole day in the mine in Stardew Valley, and like there's literally no option to do that here, which is a little bit frustrating. And I guess the lore kind of frustrates me as well because it's just so weird. It's like, oh yeah, here's a random bit of rock that you throw a hammer at, and some gems fly out. It just
it's definitely
feels tacked on, essentially.
It is definitely not a major focus of this game. Mines themselves are not always... There's a really wibbly-wobbly relationship with mining in Harvest Moon Story of Seasons games. In some games, there's straight-up mines that are more Stardew Valley-esque. In some games, there's not mines. In my favorites... A Wonderful Life / Another Wonderful Life, there's not even a mine, but there is an archaeological dig. It's all over the place. This game definitely de-emphasizes that. Like, the only reason you do it is for upgrading tools. There's not terribly much motivation to do it. There is an interesting mechanic where if you mine every day, you will get different types of items as opposed to if you let it rest a couple days in between each mining.
Yeah. Especially useful early on when you've got the kind of the low level hammer and you're just wanting to get some stuff to help upgrade the hammer.
So you'll get kind of like lower level, lower quality items if you mine every single day, and you'll get more rare items, more valuable items if you wait a couple days in between each time you mine.
I think it's up to a maximum of 3 days. After that, there's no point in waiting anymore.
Yes. Correct. So that's mining. Really quick and easy. Hammer's the only tool you use. Other than that, you have fishing, which there's 2 types of fishing in this game. The first is to just use your fishing rod in basically anywhere with water. You'll get different things in different locations, of course. And the other one is trapping. So in Lulu Coco, you can actually buy a fish trap from the store, and there's a set place to set it up. And it's like 3 or 4, I think it's 3 times you can go and harvest whatever gets caught in your trap. If you harvest one day after the other, there's a couple things in the trap. If you wait a few days before harvesting, there'll be a bunch of things in the trap. So that's really easy and fun.
I got into a really bad habit with the traps where there was a specific time of day every couple of days that I was doing it. And for some reason, that time was always when the shops were closed. So my trap would break and I'd be like, oh, oops. Or I think it was actually like I would farm just before they closed. So if I ran really quickly, I could just make it to buy a trap again. But I really should have just like stocked up on traps, but I didn't want to hold them along with me.
Yeah.
And obviously you're quite far away from your storage box at that point. And it's just so difficult trying to go all the way back home to get a trap. And especially as that was generally one of the last things I was doing in the day. So I wouldn't have much stamina and I wouldn't have much time. And it was a whole thing.
Not into fishing traps so much, I guess.
No, I like it because it's such a passive thing that you get, quite a lot for doing basically nothing.
It's kind of the closest you get to automation in this game.
Yeah, which I guess we can talk about in a bit.
We can talk about it now if you want.
All right, okay, let's talk about it now. There's not much left on the list. I think the only thing left on the list is the list of stuff that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
So, we've talked about automation before. I love automation. If you've listened to any episode of this before, you'll know I love automation. And it really is something that this game lacks, which, you know, some people will prefer, because one of the things that people like about these games is the monotony and the not having to think about things. And like, if this is your daily routine, you get up, you water your plants, you look after your animals, you go talk to people, you give them gifts, you come back, you water your plants, you go to bed. But I really like the, you know, I know you have the progression with upgrading your tools, and that speeds things up. But there's something about the way that Stardew does it, where you've got all this automation to try and basically automate everything in the game now, that it makes me feel like I'm progressing a lot more. And it's like, yeah, sure, I can get a watering can that waters 9 squares at once. Great. But I still have to actively go out and water them. I have to think about that. And I can't shift my focus to something else. It will take less time, but I can't say, right, now I've got my farm set up, it's just every few days I need to go harvest and replant. But every other day I can just go out and spend more time getting to know the farmers, or, you know, one of the other things that there is in the game. And it's a different way of playing, and, you know, each to their own. And I still really did enjoy playing this game. It's a good game. But there really is so little passive automation in the game. And yeah, you're right. This is basically the only part of it.
Whereas you're really into automation. I'm kind of not. I think because this is the format that I am used to playing. But I think it's kind of one of those things where, like, you can tell this game, for example, because there's like not a lot of mining, it really encourages you to do the things that take that long time because there's no automation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the only exception is really in trying to get to know all the villagers, which in that way, like, I wish there was more I could do to spend less time, which I guess you can. You can just grow fewer crops and have fewer animals, but I like crops and animals. But I think that's also probably really the only way to experience that is just long-term playing the game, which at least gives you a reason to do a long-term investment that isn't like collecting recipes and clothing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, definitely. I feel like, sure, you can just do less of the farming, but then I feel like I'm wasting land at that point, which is silly because it's just, you know, it's a stupid game, and the land doesn't actually mean anything, especially when you don't have it all to start with. So what's the difference between not having it unlocked and having it unlocked but not using it? But it just feels silly to me.
But then also you have to consider that, like, there's a lot of things you can do with your farm space. For example, you can be like me and fill it up completely with crops and animals, essentially, where I have the majority, like, the entire west section of one of my farms is literally completely filled with soil that's all trees. Like, you can go that hardcore, but then also you can have very few crops. You can have maybe one barn and one coop and have 2 or 3 animals and fill your farm with a whole bunch of decorative farm circles that give you bonuses like extra friendship with the townspeople and things like that. It just depends on what you want to focus on particularly heavily in what gameplay, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I didn't really get into the decorative stuff because I know they did give you some extra things, effects and stuff, but I want to fill that space with more crops.
Yeah, I mean, but that's also worth looking into sometime. Like, if you're like, I want to do something new and I don't know what to do in this game, I'm getting kind of bored with it. In the farm setup menu, there's actually, like, on the bottom right, there's a little circle with some sparklies in it. And it has a whole bunch of clues that'll give you for combining different types of farm circles, usually decorative ones, that will give you different bonuses when you combine multiple farm circles. Like, that's something worth going into and being like, I'm going to build a whole bunch of farm circles and unlock these different bonuses and figure them out.
Yeah,
There's
and
a lot to do in
actually,
these
I
games.
think that's so. We talked earlier about lots of the places where there's kind of hidden stuff, and they don't really tell you how what the personalities mean and stuff like that. And actually, this is one where they've done it really well. I think you can find the information, or you at least get hints towards the information, but they don't outright tell you. So it's more of a challenge than just like, here's a list of information, which is quite nice, and I like how they've done that. But it's also not just completely hidden, and you just go, oh, these are things in the game that you have to either stumble upon or find on the internet.
Or go to Fogu and look it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I actually quite like this. That's a kind of nice model, I think, that people should do. Like, here's a hint, so you're looking for something. Whereas, some of the other things like the personalities, there's not even a hint. Like, and it doesn't even say choose a personality. This will change the gameplay slightly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's literally no information about that whatsoever. Whereas this at least gives you hints.
And it's not just like put these things together to get a bonus.
That.
Like, for example, the first and easiest one on the list, your hint is 1, lots of wild vegetation, 2, an object with lots of purple ×2, and 3, a legendary bird motif. Like, then you have to go and figure out, okay, I'm going to go look at all the farm circles I can get. I'm going to try and figure out what those are. I'm going to put them in my farm and see if that unlocks it. If not, I'm going to try again. It's just enough information to let you start working on figuring it out without so much that it just tells you what to do.
Exactly. Like, I'm not asking for all the information to be thrown into your face, but I need to be able to given something, at least a clue that something is important. And I don't do any of those, and I'm not gonna do any of them, because actually I don't find that kind of puzzle stuff that interesting, but I'm glad it exists for people who want to do it. I think it's a really good way of doing things, even if I'm not going to do it personally.
What we've gone over is basically the basic mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
Like, I know that sounds like a lot as basic mechanics, but those are all the mechanics that essentially run the everyday average play.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch more on top of this that you can get into if you want to like really, really deep dive. There's the things that the town guardians will do for you. We didn't even talk about bug collecting or the ruins or cooking.
There is so much in this game, and trust me, you do not want a 5-hour episode of us just going through every minor detail.
No. We didn't even talk about part-time jobs.
Oh, goodness. There are part-time jobs. Part-time jobs are especially useful in the beginning.
Yes. Every time you do a part-time job, you get bonus friend points and you get money.
Money.
You get relationship with your towns.
You can even, if you get one of the medical test subject ones, you can even regain your stamina.
Or lose some.
Well, yeah, but this is the thing. You always go in there when you're at your lowest stamina, then you can only gain. Or nothing. Like, don't go in there with full stamina. That's just playing with fire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one's a crapshoot. Those are your basic mechanics. So many mechanics. If you have anything you want us to really do a deep dive in or explain further, or if you just want to say hi, or you want to tell us about the newest game we don't know about, you can email us at our website, harvestseason.club.
.club.
You can
it's
tweet
a club
dot
for Harvest Season.
Club. We're Harvest Season Club.
All are welcome to the Harvest Season Club.
You can tweet us. You can tweet the pod at THSPod. You can find me at Miss Delaney with 2 L's.
Or you can find me at the Scottbot with 1 T. Oh, well, no, 1 T in Scott. And then another T in bot.
Yes.
But Scott has 1 T because it's a nationality, not a name.
And 1 in the.
Yeah.
3 T's.
Oh,
but 1 in Scott.
Look, just click the link in the show notes, all right?
We need to go to bed. You need to go to bed. I need to go back to bed.
You need to go to work, don't you?
I have 3 hours.
Oh, goodness. Right. Yes, I am the Scottbot, but there's a link in the show notes. You can find all of the stuff that we talked about today in our show notes, including a lovely transcript from Rochelle.
Made with love. And, thanks for listening. Until next time, have a good harvest. Woo! The Harvest Season is created by Rochelle Delaney and Al McKinley. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, theharvestseason.club, for show notes, including links to things we discussed and transcripts for every episode. Thanks for listening.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. There, we're good.
I've never had a...
That's all you need.
Oh, wait, is it like chili peppers or is it like bell peppers?
I don't know.
Because...
I'm not
like...
policing Peter.
Well, it's just like pickled chili peppers makes sense, right? But I wonder what like a pickled bell pepper is like. I must try that. I have some pickled cauliflower just now, but I've never tried pickled bell pepper. I must try that at some point.
Oh, I wish you could see my face right now. Pickled stuff is so gross.
Oh, what? Really?
I hate it.
I love it. Pickle everything. Pickle fish.
Blech. Blech. Blech.
Pickled fish is amazing.
No, I don't want pickled anything. Gross.
Not even chilies.
Not even chilies. I say as I actively just like eat cottage cheese for breakfast. Like,
I've not had cottage cheese in a long time, but the last time I tried it, I remember it being pretty tasteless.
I mean, if you get bad cottage cheese,
maybe I just had bad cottage cheese. I don't know. Who knows?
Anyway. We're starting.
So,
Are you
podcast,
ready?
Yes, I am ready.